Alright, people. Review of the week time. So, boy, have we got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a big week, leading to a big fight night this Saturday with Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk. We'll talk about that in a wee bit. It's going to be a busy week with preview videos. We'll do a live probably Tuesday. I have a thumbnail for a live, so we'll do a live chat on Tuesday. Yeah, there's going to be a busy week. So videos are going to be, coming thick and fast. And by this day next week, it's crazy. It's like Christmas in a way, although boxing it never stops. But it's all the build up to this fight. And come this time next week, it'll all be over. And we should have an undisputed champion. God forbid it's a draw. But we should, and I hope to God it's not, but we should have an undisputed champion this time next week. We'll talk more about that later on, because as we always do, whenever there's fight cards to review, didn't mean for that to rhyme, but we will talk about them first. Let's head over to Australia before we talk about the UK card that was on last night, and we will talk about Vasily Lomachenko versus George Kambosos. Now, here's the thing, I tried to get some highlights or at least some footage of some of these fights that were on the undercard. I found it very difficult to find footage of some of these. I haven't seen Andrew Maloney in his fight. Some people are saying that was a bad decision that didn't go his way. Again, I haven't seen the fights, can't really comment on that. Nia Hughes, she lost the majority decision. Again, I haven't seen that fight either. Hemi and Anoa'i, I think it's how you say it. I've seen him fight before, but the last name is a struggle. Again, couldn't find any footage of his fight against Lucas Browne. I mean, I wasn't surprised he stopped him in a round, so that wasn't really a shock to me. Apparently Lucas Browne, and I hope he means it for his own sake, has called it a day and has retired. I mean, 6 losses, all of them by stoppage. And some of these stoppage losses, again, I don't know how brutal that one was. It was in the first round, it was TKO, but some of these stoppage losses have been bad. Against that Paul Gannon guy, that was a pretty bad stop, but he took some big shots against Big Farmer Miller. Dave Allen was a body shot, and arguably only about 3 weeks before that, he lost, although he got the decision. He really should have lost to Kamil Sakalevsky, because that fight was obviously penciled in already. The worst knockout loss of his career was Dillian Whyte. That was horrendous. That was a horrific knockout. He was out cold for a while after that fight. Lucas Browne has called it a day at 45 years old. What do I say about his career? He had one moment where he was WBA regular champion when he beat Shigaev in Chechnya in 2016. And that was actually a pretty good fight if you've never seen Shigaev versus Browne. It was a pretty good scrap. It was actually a really good scrap, to be honest with you. Both guys, where Lucas Browne was in shape for the first real time in his career. Shigaev is a fat cruiserweight. He's about 5'10", or he doesn't fight anymore, but he's 5'10", and honestly, if he had discipline, he'd be fighting a cruiserweight, not heavyweight. He was a decent technique. He was a decent amateur with Shigaev. But yeah, Browne stopped him in 10 rounds, and almost identical. Well, different PED, but very similar to Ryan Garcia. Suspiciously with that one, at the time, I was thinking he was set up because Shigaev, very close friends with the president of Chechnya, very powerful man. And that was weird that he'd beaten Shigaev. And if you watch that fight, there were shenanigans going on during the fight. When Shigaev dropped Browne in round 6, they let that round go on long. And when Shigaev ran out of steam in round 7 and Browne started coming on top, I think they rang the bell with like a minute to go. So it was a very sus situation. But then Browne subsequently failed further tests, and you were kind of like, alright. And then the way he looked against Dillian Whyte, you were like, yeah. I'd probably say that was just a coincidence that the card looked corrupt as hell, but chances are he probably was juicing. So that's the end of him at 45. For his own health and safety, best to call it a day now. Vasily Lomachenko defeated George Kambosos. I did see that fight, and honestly, I thought Loma would win. I thought he'd win by stoppage, but I didn't do a prediction video. But I remember thinking I wouldn't be shocked if I opened my phone on Sunday morning and Loma's won, but it's a majority decision, or it's close and nip and tuck affair, but Loma's the rightful winner. I was thinking I wouldn't be shocked if it was something like that. I wasn't. Loma had loads left in the tank, as I, kind of worried about, but I expected him to beat Kambosos pretty handily. I just worried how much he had left in the tank with injuries, and he's 36 years old. He's not a young man anymore. But yeah, he actually, for me, he looked faster in there than he has in the past. Again, Kambosos' style, that's one of the reasons why I was thinking, this is a fairly slam dunk win for Loma, because Kambosos gives you time. He doesn't really give you much movement. He's going to come forward. He's very patient with letting his shots go, which gives Loma time to use his feet to get in and out. So I kind of thought, like, that's a recipe for disaster right there against a Loma firing on all cylinders, and it was, and he beat Kambosos more clearly than anyone did, even Devin Haney. Devin Haney, although he beat Kambosos clearly, he didn't do that sort of a job on him. No way. So Loma is back. I'm happy he's back. He's one of my favourite fighters to watch. I love watching, like, a prime Vasily Lomachenko is something to behold. And I was lucky enough, I think I've seen pretty much all of his fights, even his pro debut. So, prime Loma is something to behold. He's a tremendous talent. He really, truly is. The talk is who's next? Will it be the winner of Navarrete Ranchek next week, or will it be Shakur Stevenson, who's obviously fighting in July? And there's talk he could be going, he could be a free agent after that, which might make that fight a little bit more difficult to make, but if he's not with Top Rank. But we'll wait and see. In terms of Loma, the performance, again, can't sing his praises enough. It was a tremendous performance by Vasily Lomachenko. He looked rejuvenated in there. He has the bit between his teeth. I felt he beat Devin Haney. Now, I don't feel it was a wide, Loma won it. No, it was competitive. It was a very competitive fight, but I felt Loma edged it. The biggest problem I had was that judge, who, that's just beyond incompetence. To score round 10, which was such an obvious, Stevie Wonder could have seen that was a Lomachenko round, and to score the Devin Haney, get the F out of here. Get the absolute F out of here, scoring that round to Devin Haney. That's the biggest issue I have with that fight. In terms of it was a close fight, but I felt Loma he should have got the decision, personally. He's a bit between his teeth, and let's see what he does now. In terms of the card over in the UK, I didn't see the Sky card. I didn't watch any of the fights. I heard Hughie Fury got a second round stoppage win. Listen, I'm not expecting much from Hughie Fury in this latest comeback, to be honest with you. I think Hughie Fury is, and you're talking a younger Hughie Fury, was probably fringe world level at best, maybe on his night. If he really had to be between his teeth, he could have maybe won a fight, like he should have won against Povetkin. I think Povetkin was there for the taking. He didn't capitalise on it. But that's Hughie Fury's level. And that was then, and this is now. God knows what level he's at now. So that was the only fight I was low-key interested in. Didn't see any of the other ones. I did watch the Queensberry show though, and it was actually a very good show. As I say, like, a lot of these Queensberry people like to take a dump on some of these Queensberry shows. I don't really understand why, because these were good fights in the York Hall. On paper, some of these weren't really supposed to be competitive, and they turned out to be competitive. Some people really like, all these Queensberry shows are good. I thought this was a good show by the standards. Now, I didn't see all the fights. I seen Tommy Fletcher. He was in there with a guy who was very, very negative, and Tommy Fletcher couldn't really do a great deal in there with the guy. He was patient, and he did what he needed to do. He got the rounds in the bank, so there you go. I did see Archie Sharp versus this Argentinian guy, which is Raquin Aker. I think I say that guy's name. Boy, did he have me jumping out of my seat early on. In the first 10 seconds, Archie Sharp got dropped with a big left. It was a big left hook. And Archie Sharp had a good run 5 years ago. I know on commentary they were talking about Archie Sharp, that he was, and I remember it, he beat the likes of Declan Geraghty, Leon Woodstock, and he was kind of coming up the bill. I think he was WBO mandatory at one point. And then he went to some crowd in Dubai. I wonder it was a Pro Bellum. Might have been. I don't remember him being part of the Pro Bellum team when they announced their deal, which lasted all of a couple of months. But he went apparently to a new crowd in Dubai. It seemed too good to be true, because it was, and has been really in the wilderness since then. He's back with Queensberry. This was just a run out. It was meant to be a run out. And yeah, dropped very heavily in the first 10 seconds. And he looked out of it after that left hook. He really did. Regrouped. The opponent, the referee, Bob Foster. Was it Bob Foster? Williamson. It looked like he gave him a wedgie at one point, because Sharp got dropped again. The opponent was trying to hit him while he was on the ground, and the ref just grabbed his trunks However he grabbed it, it literally looked like he was giving him a wedgie. So trying to get him to the corner, that was funny. But Archie Sharp regrouped after round 1, dropped him in the 4th round, and won a 8-round points decision. It's got to have a lot of people asking questions about Sharp, and rightly so. I would question him as well after that performance. But it might give him maybe the kick up the backside. Steve Bunt was talking about that ringside, and it might actually help him along. We shall wait and see. We'll see what Archie Sharp can do. He is still quite young. He's not taking beatings in his career. But that's a worry how vulnerable he looked early on. Ryan Garner versus Liam Dillon, great fight, really enjoyed this. Liam Dillon coming in off the back of a loss to Reece Bellotti in the 0-2 in the Indigo. This was a really, really good fight. I haven't really seen much of Ryan Garner. I heard on commentary that he'd had problems outside the ring. I have seen a couple of his fights. I remember that debut fight he had against Mark Leach. It was only when I was looking back I was like, oh, I remember that fight now, because I remember Enzo Maccarinelli getting knocked out in the round by Demetrio Kutcher, because they were talking at the time, Frank Warren was talking about putting him in there with Tony Bellew of all people. That wouldn't have ended well for poor Enzo. I like Enzo Maccarinelli. That wouldn't have ended well for him if he'd have been in there with Bellew in 2016. Oh boy. This was a good fight. It was a good little scrap. Garner got cut above the right eye, which was surprising to me because he looked really good early on. But that was a good little scrap. Francesco Grandelli, Italian fighter, went in there with Nathaniel Collins. This was for the EBU silver featherweight title. Nathaniel Collins, I've seen a couple of his fights. He looks very good. I've seen his fight against James Beach. I've seen, I think the Zach Miller fight, I've seen that as well. I remember his fight against that guy, what's his name, Reza Hamza. I remember that fight. He just literally was in and done. That was a really good performance. But he's been looking good, Nathaniel Collins, the Nightmare as he calls himself. He had some, did some moments in there where I was thinking, okay, his nose got definitely mashed up. But he was the rightful winner. That was a good little scrap. And then we get to the main event, Denzel Bentley versus Danny Dignam. Danny Dignam said if he loses, he'll retire. 32 years old now is Danny Dignam. Lost to Yanibek Alim Kanuli 2 years ago. Was stopped in the second round. Was stopped in the second round again here by Denzel Bentley. I've said about Bentley for the longest that he has these fights where he looks really good. This is a really good example. The head and the body. He dropped Danny Dignam. And the stoppage came at the perfect time. But he has these performances where he looks good, fast, hard, devastating. And then he has a performance like against Nathan Haney, where no disrespect to Nathan Haney, but he is not a world level fighter. He is a very basic British level fighter. That's what he is. And Bentley, to go from giving Yanibek a tough fight and, beating the likes of Marcus Morris and like he looked in there, he looked very good in there. And then he turns up against Haney and you're just like, what the F? And another example is when he fought Mark Heffron a few years ago. The first fight was a draw and, it was competitive. And then he fights him again a couple of months later. And this was just a complete drubbing. And I thought, okay, he's going to fight Felix Cash next and he's going to, look at how he looked against Heffron. I was like, oh, he's going to beat Felix Cash. He looked terrible. Looked terrible against Linus Adofa. Adofa lost that fight more so than Bentley won it. It's weird. And then he has a great performance against Marcus Morrison. And then he has that good performance against Kieran Smith. Big knockout. And then he does that against Nathan Haney. You're just like, you never know what you're going to get with this guy. He's either going to turn up or he's not going to turn up. I wonder what he does in training. I wonder how serious he takes it for some fights. Because I just don't understand how he can be so hot and cold with these fights. So if he rematches Nathan Haney, which they are talking about, I expect him to win. I do expect him to win. But look, nothing would surprise me now at this stage, to be honest with you. So let's get into some boxing news and boxing talk. So obviously this coming week we have, and primarily what we're seeing now is, especially on Twitter, is mainly just Fury Usyk. Let's talk about this fight. So Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk this week. Prediction video is coming out probably this evening. Well, this evening, as in it's Sunday evening recording. It'll be Monday morning by the time this goes live. But prediction video on that will come. Both guys are looking in good shape. I know people are saying, Fury doesn't look amazing. No, by his standards, he looks in pretty good shape. It's going to be interesting to see the weights. The weights are going to be a big thing for me because I was speculating the light 260s for Fury. Now I'm speculating high 260s because it's difficult to get a gauge on what he's doing. With Usyk, I think it's more clear cut 220s, looking to move, looking to use his feet. With Fury, it's kind of like, what is he actually going to do in there? Is he going to look to move? I don't think he can for 12 rounds anyway. And is he going to be front foot heavy? Which, to be honest with you, I think that's what he needs to be pretty much for the whole fight. I think he needs to be front foot heavy. Can he do that against Usyk again? That's another question. So there's a lot to talk about this fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of the fight, like a lot of people are still saying, look, they won't really get excited until we see both guys in the ring, and I get that. I think we're at a point now where we can start to get excited about the fight, but you just don't know until they're in the ring on fight night. And again, I 100% get that. We should have had this fight in February. We're getting it now in May. And we don't want to have to get it pushed back again, touch wood, it won't. I don't think it will. I am excited for this. I can't explain how much I want to have an undisputed heavyweight champion. I've seen undisputed in other divisions, and it's nice, don't get me wrong. I love to see undisputed in any division, but at heavyweight, which is my division, I love the heavyweight division, as you know. I love it. It's my favourite division. I love the big guys. There's something about two heavyweights, regardless of something about two heavyweights, irrespective of their skill level. Irrespective of that, I just love, because they're just big, they can punch, there's so much that can happen. The skill gap is not, and look, I love seeing two skilled fighters go at it. And that's why I like the lighter weights. But when you see two fighters who don't have that same skill and they go at it and they're just swinging shots, people want to see that. I want to see it. I love the heavyweight division. To have an undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in over 2 decades, I can't wait. Fury's looking in good shape. Usyk is looking in good shape. Lads, I honestly can't wait for this fight. I really can't. Watch along will, of course, be taking place. That's a given. I'm going to buy it. I'm probably going to buy the DAZN pay-per-view. So we'll watch it on the DAZN feed. So there might be a few seconds of a lag if you're watching it on Sky or TNT. But nevertheless, I can't wait. I honestly just cannot wait for this fight. I'm so excited, lads. Honestly, I'm so excited. I'm not going to give a prediction video out near it'll come, but I have a lot planned for this week with that as well. I really do. I can't wait. I really can't. In terms of other news, so Conor Benn has once again been provisionally, that's the word there, provisionally suspended by the UK anti-doping agency, the British Boxing Board of Control, after they won their appeal against the National Anti-Doping Panel's decision to lift his provisional suspension following 2 failed drugs tests in 2022. Benn's case will now proceed in accordance with UKAD's rules. Do you know what, right? This whole situation has dragged on for nearly 2 years. And Team Benn, Team Hearn, they need to just cooperate at this point. I really did think that he would just get a backdated ban. That the British Boxing Board of Control UK would just say enough's enough. Backdated to March of last year. There you go, you're done. You can fight now. Rest is history. It's still dragging on. And I know why it's dragging on. Obviously, the British Boxing Board of Control UK want to get to the bottom of this, as they so rightly should. Team Benn, Team Hearn, I think that hindsight is brilliant in this regard, because if they had have just cooperated then and there, done what Dylan White did, proclaim your innocence, but just do everything discreetly, not say anything, not make it very public, this probably would have been all solved, sewn up, probably the middle of last year or towards the kind of summertime of last year. Conor Benn has made it very public. I think Eddie Hearn, no pun intended, has egged them on, which I don't think is the right decision. I think that the best thing they could have said is, right, this is where we are, this is where we stand, this is the situation, right? We are going to handle it, the legal team are going to handle it, everyone's going to handle it. You, Conor Benn, just, mouth zipped. Don't go giving it all this on social media, because at the end of the day, it just, you're going out and having a go with the people who can clear you, and you're going down and you're getting this dossier, which 270 pages, that proves your innocence, but yeah, you guys can't see it. The WBC clear him, and the boxer himself doesn't even agree with why they cleared him, but he's going to take it anyway. It just looks so bad. Everything, and from a PR point of view, it's been handled atrociously. I really do think that. And to be honest, I think that if they had cooperated from the start, even if they held their hands up and said, look, our bad, we ate the wrong thing or whatever, slap on the wrist. Conor Benn is a big name in the UK. Slap on the wrist. I reckon that's what would have happened. Slap on the wrist. A year ban, probably backdated till July, which I think was when the first test happened. So it would have affected them in terms of the Eubank fight, but it wouldn't have been the end of the world, you know. So yeah, let's see what happens with this. It just seems never ending, to be honest, which it's been nearly 2 flipping years this has been going on for. I don't think I've ever seen a situation like this. 2 flipping years this has been going on for. Madness. The WBC have now officially ordered Devin Haney to defend his WBC title against Sandor Martin. Next purse bids on June the 18th. I can see that fight being a bit of a stinker, if I'm honest. A bit of a stinker. Oh, that could be interesting. Let's wait and see what happens there. Deontay Wilder has welcomed the chance of finally getting to fight Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium on September the 20th or the 21st. F yeah, it turns me on. You're behind enemy lines and you get that adrenaline rush. I have no problem coming to London. It's been a long time coming for that fight with AJ. I never ran from a fight except the Joshua fight back in 2018. When I've done what I'm supposed to do versus Zhang, let's get the fight on. Well, you were supposed to beat Joseph Parker and then you would have got the fight. You didn't. So let's see. And you're going in there against Zhilei Zhang. Let's see how that works. If Deontay Wilder wins, there is no doubt in my mind that Turki Al-Sheikh will do that fight next. There's no doubt in my mind. If he beats Zhilei Zhang, there's no doubt. I know it doesn't bring a world title, but it brings eyes. That out of those 4 names, so you're talking Zhang, Wilder, Hurricane, Dubois, out of the 4 names, he's the only one I think has a chance to actually fill out Wembley Stadium. I don't think the others do. But Deontay Wilder does. Has a chance to fill it out without comping a load of tickets. I think Wilder has that chance to do it because I'm interested still in the fight. I know we don't have the Wilder of old, but I'm still interested in it. And the public, if Wilder gets a highlight reel knockout against Zhilei Zhang, then the public will be interested. Boom, yeah, we're interested. So I would say Turki Al-Sheikh is hoping and praying that Deontay Wilder gets the job done. I don't think he will. I genuinely don't think he will against Zhilei Zhang. I really don't. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson on July 20th will be offering the first ever $2 million VIP ticket package. Yep, so anyone just check your back pocket. You might be able to, chuck that down. Only 2 mil. I mean, just 2 million knocking around for a fight between a YouTuber and a man who's nearly 60. Anyway, moving on. Naoya Inoue is the first Japanese fighter in the history of boxing to become, first Japanese fighter to become Ring Magazine's pound for pound king. He's now number 1 with the Ring Magazine. To be honest, the concept of pound for pound for me is I don't do it because there's so many variables. Inoue, Crawford, they would be my 2 best fighters in the world right now. They will be the 2 best fighters in the world right now. Let's have a look, see what else there is. What else is there? Oh yeah, now, I seen this the other day. I'll talk about it briefly here. The WBO have now officially ordered Anthony Yarde versus Joshua Buatsi for their interim light heavyweight title. Purse bids will soon be called if they haven't agreed a deal within the next 10 days. And that was a couple of days ago. So we have to wait and see what goes on there. But a very interesting one. A very, very interesting one because that fight, I don't know really where we stand with that. You know, the rumour mill is, and this is something that I could 100% believe, that apparently Frank Warren and Tunde have beef. I heard that a while ago. I heard that back in April. What's that? A while ago. It's only last month. But I did hear that, and it didn't surprise me. Tunde is an interesting character, to say the least. Very interesting. He reminds me a bit it's like Joe Gallagher. You know the way Joe Gallagher seems to, and Joe Gallagher may think he has his fighter's best interest at heart. Does he really? Because he will look to get more money out of the promoter, and I can understand where you're coming from. The fighters should be well paid. But if you listen to some of the things Eddie Hearn has said in the past, like he's asking for crazy money for his. I remember when Natasha Jonas. Remember when they were trying to do a Kate Taylor rematch, they were saying, okay, you can have 2 easy fights, and they wanted some outrageous amount of money, and Eddie Hearn was like, not paying you that money for 2 complete knockoffs. not doing that. And you can see his point. Like, it's still a business. You know, that'd be the equivalent. Imagine someone like, let's just say like kind of, let's say Jack Cattrall, right, decided, you know, I want the same money I'm getting for Josh Taylor to fight a journeyman. You'd be like, what the F? And that's kind of, from what Eddie Hearn was saying at the time, was what Joe Gallagher was looking for. So I wonder if this is Tunde Ajayi kind of similar. And because Anthony Yarde's always seemed to have a good relationship with Frank Warren. And to be honest with you, Frank Warren has done a lot of good work for Anthony Yarde. So I really don't know. Eddie Hearn, Ben Shalom, they might be able to do a good job with Anthony Yarde. They probably could. But yeah, it's an interesting one. And if Yarde has promotional disputes going on, because I'm telling you now, I'm sure, there's no doubt in my mind that if Anthony Yarde and Frank Warren, if none of this was happening, he would probably be captaining Team Queensberry in this Matchroom Queensberry 5v5. No doubt in my mind, against Craig Richards. And I'd be picking Yarde against Craig Richards, to be honest with you. I really would. I absolutely would. Oh, this is an interesting one. Oleksandr Usyk. Oleksandr Usyk, on suggestions, Anthony Joshua under Ben Davison could be a tougher fight for him in the Trilogy fight. He says, I don't know, because Francis Ngannou and Otto Wallin are good boxers, but not top level boxers. Anthony is a great man, great boxer, Olympic champion. His last fight was great because Anthony is Olympic champion. It was Ngannou's second boxing fight, which is true. Listen, people, wake up. Olympic champion, a man who has 2 fights. It's different. Yeah, you know, it is. And, you know, for me, it does show how disrespected Usyk is, in the fact that Joshua went in there against a guy who is, 37 years old, primarily competed in MMA, mixed martial arts, had a fight against Tyson Fury, and now is fighting Joshua, who had no real boxing background. Joshua does what he needs to do, quite frankly, knock him out. And all of a sudden, he beats Usyk. It's like, hang on a minute. He 2 fights with Oleksandr Usyk. He won a handful of rounds. In 24 rounds, how many rounds did he win against Usyk? 6, 7? In 24? Usyk won the remainder. Yeah. With Joshua, it wouldn't matter if Emmanuel Stewart, Eddie Futch were in his corner. He will always, always, always have a hard time with Oleksandr Usyk. Always. And, you know, Ben Davison, who I rate, is a very, very good trainer. Ben Davison is very egotistical. We know that. He loves the limelight. He loves the camera. And I've said in the past, that's one of the things that kind of alienated him from a lot of fans in the past. Because they thought, they would go on, oh, Ben Davison is garbage, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I think that for fighters like Josh Taylor, who I think look worse now that they've left Ben Davison, I think that kind of got in on some of them. And it's like, no, they're hypercritical of Ben Davison because they don't like him. That's why. He doesn't do himself any favours by being, you know, very kind of, you know, bombastic in that regard and, you know, loving the camera. But fundamentally, he's a good trainer. But I understand what he says things and you're kind of like, come on. You're a good trainer, but come on, you know. Let's have a quick look-see on boxing scene before we wrap this one up. Anything to go by? Piers Morgan set to play Brendan Ingle in a movie on the legendary trainer's life. Oh, that'd be good. Right, Brendan Ingle, like, I mean, did I say Piers Morgan? God forgive me. Piers Morgan. Jesus, I hope I didn't say Piers Morgan. Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan is not a bad Pierce. Piers Morgan is a cretin of a man. Horrible man. Good Lord. Good Lord. Piers Morgan. Ugh. Jesus Christ, I feel sick even just saying his name. Pierce Brosnan. Billy Joe Saunders on the Chris Eubank Jr. rematch is inevitable. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders, he ain't coming back no time soon. I seen a call-out video he did where he's admitting, like, yeah, I'm drunk. So yeah, comeback is, I might even do a separate video on that. Yeah, look, Chris Eubank Jr. rematch inevitable. It's inevitable Chris Eubank Jr. wins that rematch, Billy Joe, because you're in no shape to fight. And when is that rematch going to be? 2025? When the bank account looks a bit, oh crap, I need more money. All right, let's put the gloves on. That's when it's going to happen. I might even do a video on that one, to be honest with you, because that's an interesting one. What else do we have? Errol Spence is the latest target for Ryan Garcia. I'm ending this man. All right. What else is there? Not a great deal on boxing scene now, I have to say. Not a great deal. So I think we'll end it there. Lads, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. I'd love to hit 18k this week. I'd absolutely love to, because we are 105 subscribers and it is just gone after 9 o'clock on Sunday night. We're 105 subscribers off 18k. How I would love to do it this week, which we should really do it this week with all the content we're going to be chucking out. I'll leave it there. I hope you all have a great week. I hope we can lap this fight week up, and yeah, I look forward to just getting as much content out for you guys. In terms of everyone else, I hope you all have a great week. I hope the phone rings for some good news. I got some very good news last week, some brilliant news last week, which means that my move is it's pretty much good to go now. So we're A-okay with that one. So yeah, I'm delighted with that. Absolutely ecstatic with that. So I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Peace.